This podcast may contain discussions of graphic violence, unsettling themes, supernatural phenomena, and other topics that some listeners may find disturbing or triggering. Listener discretion is advised. This podcast is intended for entertainment purposes only. The opinions expressed are simply those of the individual hosts and do not represent the profession of psychology or constitute professional advice. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Secret Passage podcast. I am your host, Dana Vespoli, and with me is the amazing Shannon Rogers, who's also my co-host. How's it going, Shannon?
Thanks for that adjective.
Well, we were just talking about adjectives, and it just plopped into my brain.
Hello.
Hello. Well,
Are
we're
we
back.
ready for this? Are we ready to talk about these two fucking weirdos?
Yeah. Man, I'll never forget when the whole Jeffrey Epstein thing went down. And then when Ghislaine was brought up. And I'm always intrigued by women who are essentially like co-conspirators, just codependents. And it's just, but anytime a woman, especially one who presents so well, is guilty of not just, I mean, women can do crimes all the time. They've been doing them forever, but it's just hurting other women, other young women. It's weird. But before we get going, talking about Ghislaine Maxwell, did you go down any interesting secret passages this past week?
Well, I did. It was last week, actually. And I just want to say that I'm so grateful to be alive. And I'm so glad you're alive, too, because of that tsunami warning we got on Tuesday.
Yeah.
The second I've lived here for 40 years and never had a tsunami warning. But so last week, because of that big earthquake in Russia, all along the coast, there was a tsunami warning.
Right.
And I guess in Venice, like the canals actually got sucked out and were empty because of it, but nothing. Yeah. And it's funny because, this is the second one in the last few months, I think 6 months or so. And I met Tim for dinner that night. And when I was programming my phone to come home, because we were out in this town we don't usually go to, and I don't know where anything is anymore without my phone. And so I plugged in the coordinates to go home, and it actually rerouted me because of the tsunami. And I was like,
oh, wow.
Really? So there wasn't, nobody had one. So
Right.
it was not, I think they did in other countries, but yeah, so grateful to be alive. But
that's interesting about the canals, because that usually is the precursor, right? The water pulls back, but then so there was a reaction to the earthquake, but it just didn't produce a tsunami.
No, and I wonder, like, did these just not happen before, or they just didn't have a warning system for them before? It's strange to get two in this 1 year. I know my parents are like up on the coast of Oregon, and they're due for that gigantic one that's going to wipe out the whole side of the country. You know about that one? I'm always afraid driving up the one that I'm going to get smashed by a tsunami.
There would be warning, though. Presumably.
Because if you read this Atlantic article, it'll terrify you. You'll never want to go. So there's the Cascadia subduction zone that's out in the middle of the ocean.
Yeah.
And it's like about ready to just blow. And they actually tracked the last time I think it blew, it created a tsunami in Japan. And they were in Japan, they were weirded out at the time because they were like, there was no earthquake. Why did we get a tsunami? And it had happened on the coast of Oregon on that same subduction zone. So one day it will explode.
Hang on a second. I'm looking at my cat. She's the troublemaker, Sadie. She's just acting like a little shark. She's on the prowling around, trying to see if she can knock something over. Okay, there she goes. Oh, wow.
How about
Yeah.
you?
Well, as far as tsunamis, I'm lucky to be on the other side of the mountains. So that's good. Um, I rewatched Lake Mungo last
Mhm,
night. Just a absolutely fantastic movie. Technically a horror movie. I guess it is a horror movie. But I had a really great conversation on a Zoom chat with a gentleman who has enjoyed my content for a while, and we were just having a conversation about horror movies, and he had asked, like, what's like the best horror movie you've seen of late or whatever, and I said, the one that comes to mind most recently is Talk to Me, which is an Australian horror movie, absolutely fantastic. As far as I'm concerned, flawless. It is fantastic. And the Aussies have just been killing it with horror, with like the Babadook and Hounds of Love, which I think is another incredible movie. Uh, and then he mentioned, "Hey, have you seen Lake Mungo?" And you and I had talked about it because a little over a year ago, I think we each had watched it,
mhm,
and it's just really well done. I mean, you can see what is possible with not a crazy big budget,
mhm,
but it just got me thinking, and we talked about like just this kind of prevailing theme of grief that seems to be popping up in these different horror movies, along with the zombie movies kind of reflecting, maybe like the opioid epidemic, or just groupthink, consumerism, weirdness, like all like that, the way we project our anxieties. And
mm,
grief is one that seems to be a regular theme, including with the same people that did uh, Talk to Me, did that movie Bring Her Back, which also seems to explore themes of grief.
mhm.
And
Have
then
you seen Oddity?
not yet. It popped
It's
up
really
as a for you.
good.
I'll check
Yeah,
it
it's
out.
really good. Yeah, I liked it. Mhm,
Yeah, but it got me thinking about, like, why is it maybe that grief is such a strong theme? And then I think about how with things like social media, with the internet and all of that, this illusion of bringing us together has actually really polarized so many of us, and that I think can bring about feelings of grief and a kind of loss for a time, maybe that no longer exists, especially post COVID. I don't know, lots to think
mhm,
about, but
mhm,
I really I rewatched it last night, and it's one of those movies you can watch again and again. Really good.
mhm, mhm.
But that is my secret passage. I'm sure there are other ones, but that's the
Yeah,
one that popped up.
The
Why is Sadie
Changeling.
meowing? The Changeling. Oh,
Like, oh, so good. Do you wanna check? Do you want it to pause?
oh no, it's okay.
Mhm.
She's just mad. She wants to get into one of the rooms. The door's shut for a reason. Anyway, as long as you can't hear her, she'll stop
Yeah, it's
meowing.
okay too, though. It's cute.
Okay. All right. Um, crap. This is a messy one. This episode today. Um, well, first of all, as of late, very recently, wait, Ghislaine, as last I checked, she was getting ready to be moved to a minimum security prison.
Yeah,
Has she
she's
been
been
moved, or is she there now?
Yeah, she got moved to the prison and she was interviewed by the what is it, deputy attorney general? I
Oh,
forget
that's
his
right, for
name.
about 2 days, right?
Yeah, and
That
gave,
one.
like, hundreds of names, apparently.
Okay, that's
But then
crazy.
again, it's like, what are the names? Were they just people they hung out with? Were they people who actually had sex with children? You know?
Well, that
So,
that that is the thing, and you and I have talked about this, and that is, I don't think anyone's going to be satisfied with what comes out,
no.
because if there's anything that creates a national security risk, we will not be given that information, for one. And
Yeah.
then no matter where you land politically, people get protected, you know?
Yeah.
There are names
Eh,
that will never, you know, that's
maybe
it's
not. I don't know. Yeah, like have more faith with, I mean, I think, who knows?
right. No, but I
Right?
mean,
Like,
yeah,
yeah.
but it's
I
just
mean,
anything that is anything that presents a possible threat,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
no matter what, is not going to be revealed to the public. Like,
Yes.
right? Like, and then everyone will come up with their theories as to why.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, and then
yeah.
if Ghislaine herself feels like she's not safe, I don't know that, if she can't be protected,
Mhm. Mhm.
I don't know how much she will actually divulge,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah, and the whole question of her being an asset potentially for intelligence, whether our intelligence or Israel or Russia or whatever, if uh then there will be limits on what she would say probably.
Right.
But I don't know. I don't it's very hard to know. A lot of stuff with this case is really hard to know. Like, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we could go on and on and on with
Mhm.
theories, but
Mhm.
let's just sort of stick to what we know and explore reasons why. Why she is the way she is, how something like this happens, how girls and women can be protected moving forward from being lured uh, into unsafe situations, whether with billionaire financiers or just a creepy guy in a nice car. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Mhm. Mhm.
um, but let's give a little quick background for those of you who are maybe not that familiar with who Ghislaine Maxwell is, and or if you maybe need a refresher. So Ghislaine Maxwell was born in 1961 to a wealthy British family. She grew up in luxury as the youngest daughter of media tycoon Robert Maxwell. After her father's mysterious death in 1991, where he fell off of a yacht, um, she moved to the United States and became closely associated with financier Jeffrey Epstein. And she ended up having this kind of informal position of like an assistant. She managed his social calendar and various business affairs. In the 2010s, she faced allegations of recruiting and grooming underage girls for Epstein's sex trafficking network. She was arrested in 2020, convicted in 2021 on multiple charges, including sex trafficking of minors, and she was sentenced to 20 years in prison in 2022. She is currently incarcerated and has appealed her conviction, maintaining her innocence. Um, so that's her quick background, and for maybe a little more in depth timeline. Um, she was born December 25th in Maison Lafitte, France, to Robert Maxwell. As I said, he's British media tycoon, and Elizabeth Maxwell. She is the youngest of 9 children. In the 70s and 80s, she grew up in Oxfordshire, England. She attended Headington School and Balliol College, Oxford. She graduated in 1985. She worked for her father's companies, including as a director at Oxford United Football Club. In 90, when her father, Robert Maxwell, died, as I said before, the circumstances are just widely considered to be suspicious. Some think that it was suicide. Others think it was murder. I think even Ghislaine herself thinks he was killed.
Yeah.
Um, His business empire collapsed amid fraud uh, revelations. He essentially like bankrupted his whole family. Ghislaine moved to New York and uh, began her relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. Many people saw them as a couple. Others found it peculiar because Epstein, his tastes tended towards like younger women.
Mm-hmm.
She was older, but as I understand it, it's not totally clear. But as I understand it, tell me if this tracks with you. She met Epstein through her father. Like her father
Mm-hmm.
had a relationship with Epstein as far as a business relationship with him.
Yes, yeah, they had some kind of relationship. Yep,
Right.
and that's how she met him. Yeah.
And she
Or
became
wait,
his.
I don't know. I don't know. She might have met him after her father died, but he was a connection of her father's. So
Right.
yeah, I don't. Yeah, I don't know.
And in the various documentaries that you and I watched, the common thread is that Epstein was very similar to her father. She became involved later in ocean conservation efforts. She founded the Terramar Project in 2012, which is dissolved now. 2009, Epstein was convicted of sex offenses in Florida, and Maxwell um, faced some civil lawsuits from victims alleging her involvement in the recruitment. In 2015, Virginia Giuffre straight up called Ghislaine Maxwell out. She had sort of managed to escape like deep scrutiny around the time that Epstein was convicted in Florida. And he did everything he could to kind of protect her,
Mm-hmm.
keep her out of this. And he was even like heard on his tape. I don't know if it was from Florida or from later on when in New York, but he just said, "Hey, let's leave her alone. She has nothing to do with this,"
Yeah.
which could be perceived as altruistic, but it seems more likely that he's like, I can't have her sing like a canary. Let's just not even
Yeah.
risk that by just keeping her out of it." But in 2015, Virginia Giuffre straight up calls Ghislaine out, produces a picture with Ghislaine in the picture in the background of her own apartment or her own house. And in the picture, Virginia is standing next to Prince Andrew. And that was essentially just the beginning of the end for Ghislaine.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that case settled out of court, though. Like it was a civil suit, settled out of court. 2019, Jeffrey Epstein was arrested on federal sex trafficking charges and then died by suicide in jail. And around that time, Ghislaine goes into hiding. No one knows where she is. In 2020, she was arrested by the FBI on July 2nd in New Hampshire on charges including enticement of minors and sex trafficking. And in 2021, the trial began in November. She was convicted on December 29th on 5 of 6 counts, including conspiracy to commit sex trafficking of minors. 2022, she was sentenced to 20 years in federal prison on June 28th. And she began serving time at in Tallahassee, Florida. And then 2023 to present, as most of us know, her appeals, she kept appealing her conviction. It's still ongoing. And she faces additional civil suits from Epstein victims, and she's still incarcerated. So that's the timeline.
Mm.
The thing that I find most intriguing about Ghislaine Maxwell in all of this is how a woman who is so well put together, so charming, so highly educated. I mean, every description of her, every superficial description of her is one of just being intelligent, very capable. Again, she had on paper, she had all the credentials to kind of do anything she wanted. She had the connections to. Yet she becomes this assistant to a con man, and
Twice.
twice, and now she's in prison. And it's I know that you can, you can say, well, just because she is classy and educated doesn't mean, and it's like, I know that, but it's so, again, she grew up in privilege, but she was abused. I mean, she and all her siblings were abused by her father, who was a known total misogynist, total tyrant, treated people horribly, treated his own wife horribly, and
Also, one thing about him is like that struck me that was contributes to this, I think, like this legacy
yeah,
is almost his entire family was killed in the Holocaust. Her dad,
right,
and he was also tied up with two different countries working for them as a spy earlier in his life, and probably they people think definitely he was. So
right,
so not only was he like he has like a double life, and then he's a double agent, or what,
right.
and right, like, yeah. Anyway, and the other part, the other thing that struck me is that when she was born, it's like she was privileged, but when she was born, right away, her brother had this accident where I think he was in a coma for like 7 years. So all the family attention was going away from her.
Right.
And do you remember this from the documentary? She crawled into her mother's lap and said, "I exist."
Yeah, just
Yeah.
appealing for attention, appealing for to be seen.
But then when they saw her, they started overindulging her, right? And
She was
treating her
very
like the
spoiled.
favorite.
Well,
So,
spoiled.
yeah.
Right.
So
Yeah.
like deprived at a really early age of attention, then totally overindulged and spoiled once she, right? So confusing.
Like
Um,
superficially indulged and spoiled. So it's
yeah,
like her
yes.
emotional needs were never fucking fulfilled, but she was given all kinds of material things.
Mm-hmm.
And it just seems to me, the thing that comes up a lot is that it feels as though she grew up watching her mother be treated like garbage. She grew up with her father just reinforcing time and time again that women are kind of like, really should only ever be like eye candy, that they
Right.
should never really hold any serious positions. Um,
And she replaced her mother.
she did, like she would attend these events, and it feels very almost incestuous. And but there's nothing to say that there was any sex abuse that happened towards her. Who knows, right?
Yeah.
But she did replace her mother on her father's arm at events because she was an attractive, articulate. She presented well. Um, People liked her, and so Robert Maxwell kind of exploited that.
So love is conditional. The
Love
things
is
that she
conditional. The way
and
you
some
look matters. It's the most important thing.
and
Um,
people who love you will also like abandon you, betray you, replace you.
right. You
Right?
need to
All
be
those.
useful. Your
Mhm.
value is in how you look and how useful you are to a man. And so that is that is the messaging it seems she grew up with, along with probably her own like internalized misogyny towards women, which is devaluing women. Which again, the way she would refer to these recruits for
Mm.
Epstein as nothing, like literal nothing. They're nothing. They're nothing. Um,
Can
I
we
think
tell people?
she's
Yeah.
including herself in that as well. She's something only insofar as she's useful to a man. And in one case, it was her father. And then when her father dies, she replaces him with Jeffrey Epstein, who
Mhm.
is very similar to her father and also is dismissive of her.
Well, yeah. And so like if we go about, this is the part of the timeline that I just learned through research this week. And so maybe for people who don't know, we could talk about how um the play by play in terms of like how they ended up here, because that was my question. I'm like, how did it end up like this, that they could wrangle all these women to go, these young girls to go to these islands? Like, how does this happen?
Right.
So like she meets him, they start palling around, they have like a brief relationship, right? And then she finds out that he's basically super horny and he needs to have 3 orgasms a day, and she can't keep up with him. So how did that happen, that they had a conversation, I guess, that he wanted some young girls and then she just started going out to get them?
So here's my theory on
Mhm.
that,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
there's nothing definitive. So this is
Yeah.
speculation.
Yeah.
Um, uh, so Ghislaine meets, she begins having this relationship with Jeffrey Epstein, and my theory is if he slept with her at all, which he I mean he probably did.
Mhm.
It was a means to an end, because what Jeffrey Epstein was a con man, and what Ghislaine had was entree into a world of privilege. She
Mhm.
was the link to people like royalty, like
Yeah.
literal royalty, like Prince Charles. She was a link to presidents. She was a link to um, all of these people. She was legitimacy.
Mhm.
She would help legitimize him.
Mhm.
So my theory is that he started this relationship. He was using her,
Mhm.
really, basically, and then in their relationship, disclosed to her that she's not enough, and that for
Mhm.
this relationship to really be successful, he needs this certain type of woman, girl, and he would like her help in procuring these girls. And then Guylaine, being pragmatic, figured out a way to procure these girls for him. And then so she set about doing that, and then again created a system wherein she would train girls that pleased Jeffrey Epstein enough to either be like repeat girls that would come back, to then do a system where they can find other girls. So Galen's like, oh well, if you have friends, they can you can make a little extra money on top of what you get paid to do the massages, and you can find friends. And so that started this network. That's it
Yeah.
seems to
So
be what happened, but
yeah, and probably built over time. Like
sure.
the pyramid came later, but initially she was just cruising around looking for beautiful women and
Hmm.
approaching them and promising them money and fame and connections and all this stuff. And the girls would go along with it. It was like a bait and switch, right? Like she would say, the one woman she met in the department store and said, please deliver the clothes that you're buying, or that I'm buying, to this hotel. And then the girl shows up, and then they're both in bathrobes. Her and Jeffrey Epstein, how horrific. So,
Yeah.
but that, so right, luring them in and then asking them to do weird things, like first of all appearing in bathrooms, and then asking them. I'm laughing. It's not funny, but if there's something so comical about how like ridiculous they are,
Yeah.
and it's so posh and so old wealth, like weirdness, like they asking him to give a foot. You have to learn how to give Jeffrey a foot massage. And the girls are like, I can just imagine the girls being like, ugh, going to touch his foot.
And his foot's
And yeah,
all coming at them.
it's just so gnarly. And also the way she did it was where she went to like high schools, right? She finds a high school girl, and then the high school girl recruits her high school girlfriends. And I'm like, do these people know nothing about teens? Like the word was going to get out, like the gossip chains and the,
So it was never going to work long
yes.
term. It was never going to work. But it's
Uh,
interesting because it's funny because you can almost see Ghislaine trying just within her world to
Yeah.
find women, right? So she
Yeah.
goes shopping at, Barney's or Bloomingdale's, whatever. She meets this like, attractive, classy looking sales girl. And guess what happened? It didn't work. Like the
Yeah, it
girl
didn't.
shows up with the clothes and she's like, This is weird, you guys. I have a
I gotta
boyfriend."
go.
And she like leaves. So that didn't work. So then I'm imagining Ghislaine going, shit, this is tough. This is going to take forever because within that world, you're going to get
Mhm.
rejection because these people don't, they're like
Yeah.
the sales girl. She's older, right? She's got to be in her 20s.
Yeah. She
So
seemed mature. Yeah.
mature, like she has a relationship. She's not,
14.
she's not 14. She doesn't have restrictions. She has an actual like job.
Right. Right. She's
And
not a kid who
so,
needs money. Yeah.
right. And so then Ghislaine she goes to the place where she imagines, rightly, you're going to find young, vulnerable girls.
Yeah.
And that's what she did. But it is like I texted you last night, like just
Mm.
this weird image of her like pulling up to a high school. And she wasn't pulling up to
Hey,
like
kid.
Spence. Yeah. Psst,
Hey, kid. I got
she's
some
like
candy.
dangling $300 out the window. Like it's so gross. And
It's
then
really,
I
it's so
imagine
sad.
her.
It's so depraved. It's like,
Yeah.
it's really weird. It's really, it reminds, so you mentioned Carla Homolka, and there's Rose and Fred, what was it, Ward? The ones that in the British killers who Rose would go out or would be with him so he could get his prey.
Right.
And like Carla Homolka would go out with Paul Bernardo, and she would ensure that girls would trust them and go with them.
Yeah.
And so it's like, I imagine her driving around and I imagine her inner monologue, and I'm thinking like, does she ever say to herself, this is crazy? I can't believe I'm doing this.
Well,
And,
yeah, because she wasn't going to Spence. She wasn't going to like these elite prep
mm-hmm.
schools to find
No.
girls. She was
Mm-hmm.
going to public schools. And again, this plays into this class aspect that really I just am extra uncomfortable with is she went where she was most likely going to be find willing prey, and the willing prey, it tends to be not as financially stable, tends to not have maybe a background where
Parents.
parents are like there to talk to or to protect them.
Okay,
They
let's
don't
talk
have
about
guards.
parents.
Yes.
So let's talk about that for a second, because Tim said something really interesting last night. He's like, a lot of this is one angle to look at it
Mhm.
from. He's like, parents, like if a kid has a good relationship with their parents, would they say yes to something like this, or would their parent, you know what I mean? Like, so some of the girls she did pick were people who had parents who were like addicted and not there, and
There was a lot of
um
financial insecurity, food scarcity, all of that kind of stuff that played into the decision to move forward with seeing Epstein, right?
yeah, I think that her parent, one of them, and from one of the documentaries, said that her mom was not there, which was like, and she was living with a friend. But Tim was like, oh, I couldn't believe this. He told me this story last night and I was dying. So during the riots in LA in 1992, he was just saying it as an example,
Right.
right? Of like parenting, and how, and we're going to get to this later in our episode, but how can this be prevented? How can we help girls be able to advocate for themselves in a situation like this? How could we do that? But he was like, yeah, I think a lot of it could boil down to like parent stuff. Like if somebody asked you to go to, you're 14, to go to a rich guy's house and give him a massage, like you'd probably check it out with your parents, right? Or you'd at least, have some reaction. I was like, yeah, he told me the story during the riots. His friends were like, let's go out and watch the riots. And so his mom's like,
Bad
where are you
idea.
going? Yeah. And he's like, I'm going to go watch the riots. And she's like, oh no, you're not. And she locked the door and locked him in. But I think there's a way that, yeah, she could, with the other kids at the rich prep schools, she knows that their parents are around and that they have
At the very
nannies
least,
or
they have
yeah,
nannies, they have house managers, there's drivers that come to pick them up.
yeah,
They're wanting for nothing. Most of
yeah.
them are wanting for nothing. And it's crazy because I think about it and I'm like, you know who would have been a fucking really good victim? This guy right here. Latchkey kid. Okay,
I
I was
was
a
a latchkey
latchkey.
kid, but I was scared of that stuff. Like, if somebody said that to me, I'd be like, this terrified, and I would go tell someone. Like, but
Yeah, not me.
yeah, yeah.
Not I would have been like, "What's that? You think I'm pretty? Good. I
Uh-huh.
learned early that the way I look is all that matters. What's that?
Uh-huh.
You're rich and important. You can get me out of this life." Like,
Yeah.
I'm not saying that all of them were thinking along those lines, but it's like that sounds like again, it's like you just need to give him a massage. Okay, that sounds like an easy 200, $300, because again, it's going to be a young girl that's going to fall for it.
I know.
It's
Tim was trying to convince me that I would do it, and I was like, I would not fucking do it. He's all, who wouldn't? He's like, who
Dude,
wouldn't
I
want to
do
go to
it
a
now.
Yeah.
Look, like it's got to be more than 300. We're talking couple thousand, but I'll
I need
fucking
my
do
own
it.
little I need my own casita on that island.
Yeah,
No,
no,
but I don't like to travel. I don't you know what I mean? I'm like, no. But there are things someone could say to me to get me to go. They could say, "I'll give you you don't have to see anyone or talk to anyone, but I'll give you $20 million." I would do it. But if I
hang
had
on
to
real quick. I've
go
got to get
somewhere
Poochie out here. There we
Okay.
go. Like Poochie does that thing, as you know.
Yeah.
But again, I'm not trying to make light
Yeah.
of this. I'm just saying I get it because I
Yes.
was that kid. I
Yeah.
was that kid, and then there comes with it that gross, like almost forced complicity of, well, you did it.
Yeah.
You did it.
You
We
can do it
didn't make
again.
you. No one held a gun to your head. You did it.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah. So why not do it again? Why
And it
not
was
do it again?
normalized. It was
Yeah.
normalized and it was reinforced.
Yeah.
Well, money is super reinforcing, right? Like I would do a lot of things. I like I said, I would do it for 20 million.
Dude,
But I
watch
would
Squid Games. I'm telling you, you got to watch Squid
yeah,
Games.
not if I have to fly and like go to an island. Anyway, the money and then their friends were recruiting them. So their friends were normalizing it and being like, "Oh, how was it? Was it fun? What did you do?" And Ghislaine would do it. She would like shower them with, affection and approval if they were right sometimes.
Yes, and
Yeah.
what's so especially awful and what's especially insidious
Mhm.
is that so you've got creepy Jeffrey like on the massage table
Ugh.
and but then it's like almost as a salve. You have Guylaine with her proper appearance, her cool British accent, the way she carried herself she was so disarming to other elites.
Yeah.
So imagine how disarming she is to a young girl. She's like, because there's that idea in your head, and it would have worked for me, like being like 14, 15, 16 years old and going, well, she's here and she seems
Right.
normal, so
Mhm.
I must be crazy. They're being gaslit. It's like, well, Ghislaine is here and she's saying everything's going to be okay. She's kind of like the buffer,
Mhm.
which
Yeah.
she always played. That was always her role. And I do like, I'm trying to imagine like what is going through her head. And I
I know.
know she grew up in this. She grew up like, this is what you do. This is what you do. This is what is being asked of you. This is what is being required of you by this man of influence. Because I forgot to mention, when her father died and essentially left the family destitute, she was left with kind of a paltry trust. Like it
80,000 a
was
year.
80,000 a year, which wasn't going to do much for her with the lifestyle that she had grown accustomed to. And Jeffrey was financially there for her in the way that her father was financially there for her. And I'm not going to say emotionally there for her, but he was her father. She worshiped him. So, I mean, obviously she grew up with very, like, she was just absence of morals and ethics, of course. And again, dehumanizing these girls, which is kind of like what we know happens with murderers, right? You dehumanize them, you take away no humanity. Their value is, and I think she was incredibly classist, obviously. So
I
yeah,
don't think
it's just odd. It's just,
I don't think she could stand to lose him. I think that she had
yeah,
some dependent personality stuff going on where she didn't feel like she could make it in the world if she wasn't like a barnacle to a rich guy, and didn't could not be without him.
yeah,
So anything that threatened that, it's interesting. Last night when I was thinking about this, I started to see the whole thing through the lens of addiction. That he was addicted to sex, and she was addicted to that relationship, and right,
yeah,
they were both getting their fix, and she was out on the prowl, like procuring the drugs for him, but her drug was being of use to him and having her position with him secured. That's what it felt like to me, is that, because those relationships really do pull on us neurologically when you have an ambivalent partner or an abusive partner, or um, there's the attachment to them becomes like a drug. Like, that you feel they're far away, you could lose them, the things are hit the skids, and then the thing that makes you feel better is being back with them. So I can imagine there were a lot of comings and goings with them, because I'm sure she wasn't so super happy with this their relationship the way it was, with him sleeping with all the girls, him not, I don't know. I'm just imagining she was preoccupied with her role. So, and anything that threatened her connection with him, she'd go to any lengths to keep that. And
yeah,
that's an addictive quality. Like,
absolutely.
yeah.
I mean, we could also make the argument that it was an addiction to wealth and privilege,
Yeah.
because without him, what was she going to do? She tried. Well, you and I were laughing about the whole Terramar Ocean project, and it's so it was. I remember just cringing listening to her, because she's normally so well spoken, right, in these different kinds of things. She presents so well, and she's there, and she's like, "So who here loves the ocean?"
I love
I
the ocean.
I love the ocean. And she's like, Terramar.
Okay, let's tell people about Terramar.
That was just a website.
It's got to be a CIA front. That, for me, I was like, this is this is a thing that the CIA created for her, or whatever intelligence agency she's working for. Like, was it after he killed himself, or was it after he went to prison?
It was after he went to prison the first time.
Okay, yeah. So
I think
he goes.
Yeah.
No, last time. I think
the last time. I thought that she was trying to. No, the first time, because the last time he went to prison, she disappeared.
Oh, right.
So this was after Florida. This was when he was in like
2015 or something, or when was that?
Yeah.
Let me look.
2010. It was in the 2010s, so maybe.
Oh, really? Because she looked a lot older. Let me see. Terramar Ghislaine. Okay, let's see.
I want to say she started in 2012.
2012, yeah. With a UK sister organization. Oh, God. It was just a website, but you could also buy a piece of the ocean. Just not an actual piece, but
again, it's like, okay.
Okay, so to revamp her image, this is what she did, right? She comes up with this, I'm suddenly this philanthropist, and I do good work, and I care about the climate.
But she really did it. It's like she couldn't even fake her way through it. It's like she's able to fake her way through like these charming cocktail conversation, but she's up in front of like hundreds of people, and she's like just talking out of her ass, and it just sounded so janky.
You're all Terramar.
She's like, Terramar.
I love the ocean and all the creatures in the ocean.
And you too can own a piece of, not literally, but, and I'm like, I'll take this one. I'd like about an acre of like that part of the Pacific between like Hawaii and like, how do you, it's ridiculous. It's so
bad. Yeah.
So but obviously also that
just Exactly, and, like, that's what I said, these fucking weirdos. They're just weird. There's, like you could look at it as, okay, this is just a really dysfunctional relationship, and she's repeating the patterns of her childhood here. Exactly,
Mhm.
right? Like, and it was just dirty, addictive, whatever, and, like, dirty rich people, like, eyes wide shut. Um, but the other side is like the intelligence stuff. So then I'm like, did it start out that when he was compromised and he went to jail, that because that whole thing was weird when he got that, how the case was handled and what he was charged with ultimately was like getting prostitutes, not raping children. So, and then he was let off with really easy. And the way they communicated with the cops and the DA was off. So it's like, when were these intelligence agencies involved? And whoever it was willing to overlook and also exploit the girls
Oh, yeah.
to get the goods for whoever they wanted to jam up, and
Yeah.
blackmail, which is so it's such a weird, it's like psychedelic, it's a weird case. Anyway.
Yeah, and there's so much that we still don't know definitively, and that we will probably never really fully know. Like
Yeah.
that's, yeah, I see what you're saying, because it went from initially just him being like addicted to these, having these girls come to him multiple times a day, which is wild. Like three, like it's one thing to be needing sex 3 times a day, but like
Yeah.
needing these girls, like different girls 3 times a day, it's just I can't. Yeah,
It's so
but
hedonistic and like and bizarre, and but it is enabling. She was enabling his addiction because
yeah,
of her own. I mean, that's my theory, but
yeah,
yeah, but
but
still,
so
it's
it
yeah.
it seems like it went from like to kind of go along with what you're saying.
Mhm.
So his initial vulnerability, as far as, oh, this guy has a weak spot for underage girls, and he got the sweetheart deal. Let's rope him in to essentially do some sort of a blackmailing operation, in addition to that kind of is, yeah. So like
Mhm.
he kind of is has to do it, and then blackmail all these people, because like, when did all those security cameras go up in his New York apartment or townhouse or whatever it is, brownstone, huge home?
I don't.
um
Oh, I didn't. Oh, right, right. I don't know. I thought they were there all along. I don't know about that part.
yeah,
So,
because the Maria Farmer, who was
mhm,
one of his victims, and then her sister was the one that was in New Mexico, that was like kind of held captive there almost,
on that ranch.
yeah, but Maria worked in the house as like a receptionist almost, and then she became privy to
Oh
this
yeah.
huge security system within his house. And I wonder, was it always there, or was it installed after his prison sentence in Florida, because he started working with intelligence agencies that, you know.
Right. Or did he always? Did he know her dad through that? Like, 'cause he had a shady, weird background, like, nobody knows where he got his money, how or we do, but it was, like, all through, like, arms deals and stuff, like some arms dealer
Yeah,
was
he didn't get, I
took
mean, I think it was probably widely known
Mhm,
within like the kind of big money crowd, that
mhm.
this was a guy who didn't give a fuck what he needed to do to get exorbitant wealth. He was willing to do anything. And I think he probably made that clear early on, very early
Mhm,
on.
mhm.
But he was clever, he was smart, he was savvy, weird. Like, it's just weird that with how sharp he was, and how, like, by all accounts intelligent, he dropped out of college.
Mhm.
He dropped out
Mm,
of, it was like he was just, he wanted the easy way. He
yeah.
didn't want to go through all the proper channels. He wanted the easy way. And then he learned early that he could get away with shit. Like, he got that job at Dalton teaching math when he didn't even have a bachelor's degree, didn't even have a teaching certificate. He was given a job because some rich, powerful people he tutored their kid
Mm,
put in a good word for him.
interesting.
So he got this job at Dalton. Everyone else is fucking busting their ass to get a teaching job at a prestigious school. And
Mhm.
this guy fucking rolls in. I picture him rolling in like flip flops and like a backwards cap. And he's
His
like,
faded
hey,
jeans with his
yeah,
belt. Yeah.
just being weird, and he was inappropriate there and like all of that. And then he ends up like, but it's like he's leaving a trail of a mess everywhere he goes, yet he keeps being given. It brings up so much for me, like the Anna Delvey shit, like the guy that said he was Sidney Poitier's son,
Hmm.
all of that, like the grifters that come in
Mm.
and they know the right people and they know the smooth talk, and then they're just entrusted with millions upon millions upon billions of dollars. And it just it makes me I mean, it really it shows the holes, and it shows the kind of like the hubris that exists in that kind of wealthy elite world.
That's
Um,
so I mean, that's the thing I always think about with, we talk about psychopathy, or we talk about, whatever it is that allows for a person to have disregard for the laws
mhm.
and for other people. Um, and it just makes me think about, like, it those of us who stay within the laws mostly, I mean, like, I speed sometimes,
Sure, no, like, but
I
yeah, the,
roll.
the stuff that's not going to hurt anyone. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I guess you could make the argument that speeding hurts people, but you know what I mean. Like,
Yes,
yeah,
but
you
my
fuck
speeding
up.
is not speeding.
Yeah,
My speeding's like 75.
right.
So anyway, he what it takes to walk into a room as a con person and dupe a bunch of people, it's just, I don't know, you have to unhook yourself from something, like your humanity, or you don't have the same level of fear or like risk avoidance. You know
Well,
what I
that's the
mean?
that's the
Yeah.
psychopathy that we talk
Mhm.
about. And where not all psychopaths are murderers, right? There is a reckless disregard for other people and for laws and rules, and essentially you see yourself as God. You see yourself as, which is why we when they say that, you find psychopaths in CEO positions, you find psychopaths doing like brain surgery, and it's like that's when you
Mhm.
kind of want a psychopath. You want
Yeah.
somebody that is that confident to slice into your fucking skull. I mean,
I need a steady psychopath hand.
yeah, I need
Yes.
a a cool, removed, very, very confident. You want a confident fucking surgeon. Jeffrey Epstein just had all the confidence and the entitlement to pull off walking into an interview and claiming that he has I don't know, a master's degree in mathematics or whatever. Like just absolutely no remorse.
Oh.
It is a disregard. But that said, then you've got Ghislaine, who also in her own way, like fell prey to Epstein's charms and his confidence, and this illusion that he cared about her. In pictures, it's interesting. You see the pictures of them. She's just so holding so tight to his hand. Like there's that one, he's got his arm around her, and she's just gripping onto his arm, like,
Oh.
stay with me, you know. Um, like her survival depends on it, and that is someone that just, it's interesting because had Epstein only ever said, hey Ghislaine, here's the deal, I'm attracted to younger women, I like you, I'll take care of you, I just need you to do my bidding, and my bidding is this: get me a 25-year-old supermodels to sleep with, she'd be like, okay. It's just anything he was going to ask her to do, she was going to do it. I guess what I'm trying to say is, I feel like her depravity would only go as far as the man that she had latched herself to, right?
Yeah. Well, it's
So,
interesting. Mhm.
you know what I mean? Like I don't think that
Like her limits were his limits.
Exactly. Which is
Mhm.
dangerous,
Mhm.
which is
Oh god.
dangerous, of
Yeah.
course.
I mean,
But
most of us live our lives. Okay, let's say like okay, if we look at like how we live our lives, like I think that we basically are programmed, you know, from evolution, programmed to be afraid. Like there's a fundamental kind of restlessness to our experience as humans, right?
mhm.
So a lot of the time, if we don't check this and we don't pay attention, we live our lives completely under aversive control. Like I imagine her operating from I have to do this because I'm avoiding losing him. I'm avoiding losing my place with him because I don't think I don't have a place if I don't have a place next to a strong man. I can't do it on my own. There's some of that, but then there's also like maybe there was something appetitive for her in it. Like maybe she liked this power she had over the girls, or maybe
Oh, for
she
sure.
liked, you know. So it's interesting to think about because we'll never know unless we talk to her. What
And
because it
even
what
then and even then, even if we
yeah.
did speak to her, she is going to try to present herself in the most sympathetic light as possible. And I think there's enough evidence to show that there was I think she did take some sadistic delight in seeing herself as above these girls, like the way that she would
Mhm.
just sort of grope them,
Yeah.
almost like they were, I don't know, she was at a cattle auction or something and she's just, handling them. Um and the ways in which so many of these girls like were very clear that she was terrible to them.
Yeah.
So it wasn't even like her doing the bare minimum to appease him and then leaving the room. There's enough evidence with these girls' testimonies, and again, a lot of these girls didn't know each other. They're speaking from individual experience, and their experiences kind of echo each other as far as um, the way she was. So again, this
Mhm.
isn't lest anyone think that like I'm trying to make an excuse for her. I'm not. I'm trying to understand how someone ends up doing this.
Yeah.
Um, but and so when I say like her depravity will only go as far as her partner, I think that she puts herself in situations where she is controlled by these men. My theory is it's because it goes back to being controlled by her father.
Well,
But
she was
she's guilty.
groomed.
She
Yeah.
was groomed. She's guilty. It sucks, but some part of her, and I don't know how, if this is a nature versus nurture thing, or if she learned to take enjoyment in hurting other people. She certainly grew up watching her father hurt other people and
Her and
watched
her
him,
siblings.
her and her siblings, other people,
Humiliating them at the dinner table, making
yeah,
them stand up and talk about things, and
and then whipping them if he wasn't happy.
you know what you just made me think of? There's this really good book. So it's a psychoanalytic theory book on it's called The Reproduction of Evil. And the theory in the book is that in a that when victims when people who are victims or survivors a then turn around and perpetrate, that in that act of perpetration, the theory is they're wanting to be known because they've been debased in that way in their own lives, and then by doing it to another person, there's a something between them and the person they're harming that
Right.
actually makes them feel known, which I thought that was really interesting. So I don't know if that was in there, but it would just be so interesting to hear from her because we never know. You look at people's behavior and you can see what they're doing and you can make inferences and you can speculate like we do, but you never really know how it's functioning for them that they're when they're
Right.
doing those things, right? And it would just be with all the people we talk about, I always think, God, would it be so great just to hear from them, like what was going on in there? Yeah.
Yeah, you know what comes across for me a
Mhm.
lot, just seeing her in these different interviews before the trouble hit, and then yeah, actually even that little bit of like I think it was a jailhouse kind of discussion where you kind of see her talking is it doesn't seem as though she has any kind of real sense of self.
Yeah.
Like she is this she's like a Bret Easton Ellis character. Like if you
Mm,
ever read like Less Than Zero, like which is a hard read. Like
mhm.
everyone talks about American Psycho being a tough read, and it is.
Mhm.
Less Than Zero is a fucking hard read. Like the 80s movie
Yeah.
has nothing on the fucking book.
Mhm.
But it's just this, there's a vampiric quality. And it's funny because in some of Bret Easton Ellis's other books, like the way he represents or he presents some of these rich characters is like actual like vampires, and there's like this
Mhm.
vampiric quality to her, like this vacant shell that just seeks to be filled,
Mhm.
and seeks to be filled with, what happens when you're bored with, I mean, you're still seeking it, but things and stuff like money,
Mhm.
travel, good food,
Mhm.
apartments, hotels,
Mhm.
fashion. It's you know other people's souls, their essence. It's there is this kind of thing,
Yes.
viewing these girls as a means to an end, but just insatiable, just it,
Oh, the
and just
insatiable
empty.
thing.
It really does. I mean,
Yeah.
you see, obviously Epstein was insatiable. You see her being insatiable, and
It's
and,
so
and it's
disgusting.
just, yeah, it's just this emptiness. There's this
Mhm.
vacant quality to her that is, it's when people describe her as creepy, like you said, that the photographer, in the documentary that was doing the Terramar photo shoot, and
Mhm.
described her as like being kind of creepy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Sh
it's
It's
this weird, yeah, this anyway.
like we talked about the money stuff, and I know we have to wrap up in a little
Right.
while, but we talked about the money stuff and how poverty, that thing you said about poverty is
Poverty is violence.
violence. Well, like I just was this whole week when we were doing this research, I'm thinking, oh my God, like wealth is really truly so distorting.
Yeah.
Wealth and privilege, it's so distorting. And uh so like that coherence thing that I talk about sometimes, like how we as humans, we need coherence. That's why narratives and stories are so sticky, right?
Right.
Like it's almost like a primary kind of reinforcer, like water and air and food. Like, and that's why it's so hard to change one's mind if you're not understanding that you're making a story and
Right.
it's sticky, and you're probably scanning the environment for more information to feed that story, and
Right.
to the exclusion of every other narrative. And I just thought so much about that because it truly felt like people say she's a narcissist, people say she's a psychopath. It really just, to me, it almost doesn't even have that cold-blooded quality because you can see her suffering. I think you can see in her face she's sad and depressed sometimes, right?
Right.
And but it had that, like, oh, in her mind, she really is better than them, these girls. They really are nothing. She said you could throw them away like tissues, like, um, you know, and that was her true experience and belief. Like she lives up here. Everybody else is like, cattle or something. I don't know. Yeah.
Right.
Oh no, you cut
Yeah.
out.
Oh, so did you? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. There was a little glitch for a second. Yeah. It's that makes me so uncomfortable thinking about these girls as being disposable.
I know.
Uh, and also just the insidious part of it. As if it wasn't enough to manipulate them, sexually abuse them, to then essentially try to make them complicit in their own abuse,
Yeah.
for daring to, you know want or need money, you know
Yeah. And the
when
justice
they
system
yeah, and it clearly they're
confirming.
motivated by wanting. It's just, yeah, it's, yeah, and then also, yeah, when they were perceived as prostitutes in the Florida sentencing of Epstein. But all this to say that, I mean, we can go on and on forever trying to make sense of someone like Ghislaine Maxwell, but she's not the only person out there that just seeks to coerce, manipulate, trick, these, vulnerable people. Um, we should probably finish by talking about, like, man, it is so important to talk to young people. And again, you know, um, whether you're a single parent, a guardian, or whatever, whether you have to work around the clock and you don't always have access, to time, spending time with your kids, it is so important to, I hate to say it, but it's true. If it seems too good to be true, it probably is. If somebody rolls up and says, "Hey, you can make a lot of money just doing this very simple thing," it's
Yeah.
no,
And yeah, like assertiveness training too. Like, right.
assertiveness training, self-defense, please, for the love of all things holy. Girls,
Definitely.
especially, all kids, because we know that boys are victims too, but girls especially, man.
Yeah.
I'm gonna Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and it's not
Yeah.
just because my kids do Brazilian jiu-jitsu and my partner does Brazilian jiu-jitsu. I've done it. There's I don't think that there's any better combat training that will actually, you can get yourself, regardless of your size, you can actually get out of a sticky situation with it. But
Yeah.
self-defense, and then just, man, it's so important to have open communication with your kids, reminding them not to feel embarrassed or ashamed, if they've done something, if they've been lured into something, if they're questioning something, like
Yes.
even like, oh, I don't want to tell my parents because it sounds weird, but it really is this thing, that I can do to make this money.
Peer
Ugh,
pressure, like how to deal with your peers who are telling you it's fine and you don't think it's that fine and but you're going along with it. And like, I definitely, if I was in that position if I had gone along and I showed up in some guy's room, they're like, massage this old man. Like, I would probably do it because I wouldn't know how. I would either freeze, fawn. These are all our survival responses, right?
freeze,
To danger,
fawn, or flee,
fawn,
right?
flee, fight,
Right.
play dead. So I would probably fawn. I would probably do it just to get out of there.
Right.
But, teaching people to pay attention in those moments and have more options, which they may not be able to. I mean, when we're under threat like that, we really kind of like don't have a lot of options. But training kids to think when they're in a state like that, not just that they don't just have to comply. Because I know that they stalked that one girl for like 3 years, the one that left the hotel room, the one that worked at the
Yeah, but
clothing store.
that speaks to that sadistic thing, because they knew they weren't going to get her. They knew they weren't
Yes.
going to, so they decided to torment her and scare her.
Yeah, oof. But I guarantee though, I know there are probably lots of girls that went in there and were like, and booked it out of there.
Right.
But I mean, I don't know. But I'm not saying that people are wrong for not doing that. I'm just saying that like some stayed and did it and some probably ran.
Yeah.
And I don't think we have that much control over that response in situations like that. I probably would have stayed and been like, I just do this and leave and never come back.
I would have been scared.
Yeah.
Like, let's
Yeah.
say I got there and then I changed my mind. I would be scared looking at these two older adults, who have made it very clear that they have a lot of power, that they
Hmm.
have a lot of access to things that could hurt me or hurt my family. Like,
Yes.
of course I'm going to probably go through with it. If I feel scared, it's, you just sort of go through it. I don't know. I get it. I get it.
It's
I
also
get it.
so weird that you're like, what else would they do to me? Like, it's
Yeah.
also
Yeah.
just weird. Like, that would be terrifying in a way. Like, are they going to like, chop me up and throw me in a landfill? I don't know.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is terrifying. And then the ones that kind of felt like they had to do it and keep doing it because they're like, well, they get gaslit. You've got Ghislaine going, "You did great.
Yeah.
You did wonderful. Jeffrey's so happy with you. Here's more money." And then you're like, okay,
And your friends are doing it.
yeah,
And Yeah.
Yeah. But it is. It's the communication. It's letting kids know that it's not just strangers to watch out for, but strangers that seem like they have a lot of power and influence. Like I told you, like, it's a thing where when you're young and vulnerable and someone seems safe because of who they know, like, oh, well, this guy knows the Clintons, he knows princes, he knows famous people, therefore he's safe.
Right.
He must be safe. They're in a limo, they must be safe. Like there's this weird illusion that
The
much,
class thing.
the class, the who, the fact that they know famous people that we're familiar with means that they're safe. There's an illusion of safety, and that's a thing to teach too, you know
Yes.
so if that makes sense, guys. It's so sad. Ugh.
I know.
Well, we'll be watching to see what happens along with the rest of you. What ends up coming to pass with Ghislaine Maxwell, and yeah, we can be watching. Let us know what you think. What do you think? Why do you think she is the way she is? How does something like this happen? And what experiences have you had? What advice would you have for young vulnerable people that may be manipulated into participating in things that are dangerous and scary, but seem on the surface like they're safe? Um, anyway, thanks for joining us. We'll be back next week, and please follow us on all our platforms. Shannon, what are our platforms?
TikTok. Now we're on TikTok, Secret Passage Podcast, and X Secret Pass Pod, Instagram Secret Passage Podcast, and then we're on Patreon
Yes,
at
if you are interested in
Patreon.
surviving.
Yeah, and what?
Yeah, if you're interested in joining us there, that'd be great. All right, gang. We'll see you next time.
Bye.